I was at Selhurst Park, lucky to be there watching the boxing up close. And I think we all probably got it wrong about Chris Billam-Smith and Richard Riakporhe. So you're in a collective of many, I think, because we all kind of got it wrong. But back to Roy Jones very quickly. I do wonder if these younger kids nowadays just realize what magic is around them and how good that man was. Like, peak for peak, he could have been the greatest boxer we've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
That's the guy that's walking around just taking photos, laughing and joking with people. He was incredibly special.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I was doing I was the lead presenter on a thing called Crypto Fight Night Off Chain One, and it's crypto fighters, rather like white collar, but on the card was professional boxing. This is Indigo at the O2, very intimate setting. I was around Royal Week, and on the broadcast, I was saying, you have to realise if you're watching this right now that this is a man who belongs in the ultimate Hall of Fame. That 25 years ago, he literally was the pound for pound number one. He could do things. He could find a chink in the keyhole of a door to find a punch to land on someone. People wax lyrical in mixed martial arts say about Superman punches and different submissions. And Roy Jones Jr. had a gift based on intelligence and IQ for fighting. He had athletic DNA. He was brought up in the sport through his father anyway. He was a natural at it. He went from middleweight to heavyweight and won a world title. It's like Canelo winning a world title at heavyweight today against these guys that are around. Yeah. Maybe against a Charles Martin or someone like that. And I don't want to disrespect John Ruiz, who was a great champion, but he was just extraordinary, and he cannot leave the sport. He's very, like you say, I always have a hug with Roy. I always appreciate him because as he gets older and as he gets to 60 and 70, I think, I said on the broadcast, just go and watch a highlight reel of Roy Jones Jr. and you'll go, oh my God, did I just meet that guy?
Yeah.
And it's like that. There's just something incredibly special about him. And the other thing, because you'll have met him several times, he's so humble. He's so humble, Ade.
So it's incredible. Like when you think of a lot of the boxing superstars today who walk around with, I don't know, crews of 10, and Roy would just walk around by himself with a bag and just sit down and talk to anyone. And again, you're talking a guy that was, had a rap album, was an actor, as you say, pound for pound number one. Like, honestly, the most gifted boxer we've probably ever seen, just in terms of athleticism. And he's just chilled. He's just so chilled. It is incredible. And I felt like, I'm happy you mentioned that you were around him, because I do feel like he doesn't get his plaudits from hardcore boxing fans, yes. From the casual boxing fans, maybe because we see him all the time now. Yeah. Maybe he doesn't get the love he should get.
Can't Be Touched is the track, by the way.
Can't Be Touched.
And he literally took the mic while young Tony walked in. Tony is a slip of a thing, super flyweight. He won as well. And he's a beautiful boxer. He uses the ring, Tony Lightning. But when Roy took the mic at Indigo, it was like we were getting a special concert. Very, very special. And then a couple of fights later, we had Chris Cyborg coming in. So, again, it was her UK debut. So I got sent sideways a little bit rather than was at Selhurst Park, which I got caught up on, obviously, which was amazing.
It's not a bad night. It's not a bad night that you had, regardless. Selhurst Park was cold. It was cold. Obviously, we do like sometimes outdoor boxing, but for some reason in this country, it could be good, it could be bad because of the weather. We can't predict what the UK weather's going to be like. I hope you don't mind me starting backwards. I know we do, and we should rightly start with Chris Billam-Smith, but I'm fascinated to get your take on Ben Whittaker. Just because I remember early in his career, it might have been his second or third fight, you said, Ade, I'm not a fan of the showboating, and I kind of went against you. I'm like, well, 1 second, Gareth, come on, showboating's good. And to an extent, I still think the showboating is very good. Like, he's got 2 million Instagram followers now. There's a reason he's co-main event. People love to tune in. But it's got to come with also being spiteful. You just mentioned Roy Jones. Roy Jones was the biggest showboater alongside Prince Asim Hamid. But when it was time to work, it was time to work. And the showboating got put to a side and he was very menacing. And I was watching on Saturday, I was thinking, I need to see a bit of a menacing streak from Ben. Like, you can showboat as much as you want, but when it's time to get guys out of there, I need you to really make a statement. And I didn't see it on Saturday. So I was slightly disappointed. Look, I'm still the biggest member of his fan club, but I was slightly disappointed because I thought Ezra Aranyeka was there to be hurt and punished, and we didn't really see it from Ben.
Well, as you say, it's a compliment in a way because you're his biggest fan, but you're disappointed because you want more from him. I think it was an ugly contest at times. There was a headbutt, an elbow.
Yeah.
Aranyeka, not Aranyeka, Aranyeka, sorry, Ezra Aranyeka, to give him his full credit. And wow, what shape he'd got in, by the way, from looking pudgy at that first call out at the press conference. And I had run into Ezra in the build-up to it. And I'd said to him, wow, you've got in shape. He said, man, I'm going to shock the world with this. Obviously, he's not on the skill level of Ben Whittaker, but the effort level was there.
Gritty.
There's one word that's crept into my mind every time I see Ben is power. And one of the things that he could be outboxing guys without the showboating, and we could be waxing lyrical about him, about his boxing skills, and he could outbox people all the way to the top. But while he's showboating and off balance at times, and while it is fascinating, I want to see a performance where he plants his feet a little bit more and uses his boxing skills on the inside and absolutely schools someone with that skill set he's got. He's still a very, very young fighter in professional boxing terms.
Yeah, it was his 8th fight.
And it's only his 8th fight. And obviously the spotlight's on him. 1 million followers now on Instagram. Loads of stars follow. 2 million now, is it?
2
million. Well,
how quick's that grown, by the way? That it was 1 million a month ago. That's how fast his star power is growing.
You see, and that's the thing. His star power is going to make us talk about him at length every time he's out. It's going to make us scrutinise every little detail of what he does. But, you know, when he's in there and he moves, every little thing he does is magic, I would say. And it's magic because it turns some people against him. It turns people for him. It's going to be like that all the way. You know, he's going to be a divisive character in that sense. But I think it makes it more fascinating. He has a uniqueness about his journey that far be it from us to say he can't make it to the top, because he's the one that believes to be able to do what he does in the ring. You know, we're mentioning Roy Jones Jr. and we're mentioning Ben Whittaker in the same breath, in a sense, in that Roy Jones Jr. did the same thing as him, but there was a finality about the end of the delivery every time. He was doing the dance for a reason. He was doing a dance to sway someone one day so he could throw a lead right that would finish a fight, like a cobra, like a viper. And I think I'd like to see, like you just said, I agree with you. I'd like to see Ben go away and work on using that showboating, not just for the dance, but to put it on someone. And it's there somewhere. It's there to get someone in the position where he can knock them out, to get them in the position where he can hit them with that perfect punch. That's what I feel about it.
No, I think that's perfect, the way you said it. Use the showboating to set up holes and openings and create angles, as opposed to just using the showboating for us.
For showboating's sake.
Yes. It makes perfect sense. But I think you're right as well. It's only his 8th fight. It's only now, because he is a superstar, because he's co-main event in front of Chamberlain and Massey, that people now want to see a bit more, and everyone wants to see him pushed very quickly. But after Saturday, I'm like, no, take your time with him, because he's only 27, I believe, still young in the pro game, and there are a number of good light heavyweights he can fight in this country. Let's go to the cruiserweights, the big boys. Chris Billam-Smith beating Richard Riakporhe. Some might say a bit of an upset. I think Richard Riakporhe was the bookie's favourite. I think if you polled 100 fight fans and journalists, I think the majority would have said Riakporhe would have maybe got it done late. But in the end, it wasn't easy work for Chris Billam-Smith, but Crispin Smith does it again. He did it against Okoli when he was underdog, and now he's done it against Riakporhe when he's underdog. And I can't keep going against him because he keeps on finding a way. Will he find a way against the other champions, Zerdo or Patira? I don't know, but credit to him, credit to Shane McGuigan, credit to his journey. He's gone in there against two monsters, two basically bridgerweight / heavyweights, and beaten them both.
Well, first of all, I was wrong. But I was
I love
wrong.
the way you just admit it.
Well,
first of all, I was wrong.
The only caveat is, the more I thought about it, I thought about the work rate of Richard Riakporhe and the work rate of Chris Billam-Smith, and if it went 12 rounds, it wouldn't have surprised me if Billam-Smith won on points, because he works in there. He's very workmanlike. And he's not one of those fighters who ever flatters to deceive. Everything is down to extreme effort. Second thing is, since they fought in 2019 and he lost a split decision to Richard Riakporhe, he's really developed in his 10 fights. And I think, Richard had 7 since then and not really been tested. He hadn't gone beyond 8 rounds. That was Deon Juma, if you recall that one.
Yep.
And we hadn't learned a lot about what he had to do, could do or would do in a ring. The fact he couldn't get Billam-Smith out of there, and the fact that he tired and he ran out of ideas, and it was a below par performance by him in lots of ways. But I don't want to take it away from CBS, because he was the man in there with him that forced him into that fight. Richard had some successes, but CBS rode them all in there. And he fought like the champion. He acted like the champion, and he is a worthy champion. And I also think there's a great credit to the relationship, the long-term relationship between CBS and Shane McGuigan, who is brilliant in his corner as well.